Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Teleperformance's exclusive podcast. We are going to wrap up Black History Month with this being the last of our 4-part mini-series. And today we are back with the Black at TP board yet again to talk about some of our leaders here at Teleperformance. So throughout the month, you guys have heard from O'Near Scott quite a bit. We're going to hear from him again today, but we're going to give him the opportunity to actually recognize and introduce and bring in some of our executive leadership.
Hey, thanks, Audrey. What an honor it is to be here. TP continues to grow and expand its talent pool. I have an opportunity today to introduce some of our newest members here at Teleperformance, 2 of them being executive leadership. And then the other 2 you guys do know as well, but I would love to get more detail around their stories and I'll be able to share it here with you guys today. So first, I'd like to introduce Rob Marshall. He is our newest EVP from Client Services. I think he's been on the job for 60 days now. Probably feels like 2 years, but I'm really glad that he's here. Already developed a great relationship with him and really looking forward to spending more time with him throughout the year. Connie Bell is our newest SVP for Security Global Incidents Response Team. She is another just been a pleasant person to work with. I've had an opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with her over the last year or so. So looking forward to hearing her story and how she came to Teleperformance. And then my right-hand person, Amanda Colas, she's the VP for Client Solutions. You have heard from her a little bit throughout these podcasts, but we get an opportunity now to dive a little bit deeper into her story. And then our good friend Bryson Randalls, he's an account manager on our healthcare team, and looking forward to hearing more from him as well. So with that said, let me go ahead and just kind of kick this off with Rob. Rob, tell us a little about yourself and how you got to Teleperformance.
Sure. First of all, let me just say thank you, and it's really an honor to be here with you guys and to be a part of this awesome team. Well, my journey to Teleperformance, if I were to look in retrospect, started many years ago. I've been in the industry for 30 years and worked in various different positions at multiple organizations, having spent 28 of my 30 plus years in one BPO. But I ended up here at TP with an opportunity to actually work on a client that I've known for many years. So my journey started as an agent many years ago, eventually moving up the ranks in the organization where I was to becoming COO of that company and ultimately starting my own consulting organization, and then matriculating to TP. And I'm really excited to be here. I'm really impressed by what TP has to offer as a global organization, and I'm really excited about what the social justice, the social impact things that are happening here at the company. So it's been a long journey with a lot of in between, but all positive, and I'm glad to be here.
Glad you're here. Thanks, Rob. Hey, I'm going to pass over to Connie now. Connie, tell us about your journey and how you got here.
Thanks, Mo. I have been with Teleperformance for about 2 years now. Most of my career has been in the telco industry. I worked for my previous organization for about 27 years. I started as an agent and worked my way through the ranks. In my last role, I worked in compliance, where I was responsible for protecting the organization's data. Prior to that, I did work running call centers across the US, Mexico, and Brazil. Prior to joining the telco industry, I did spend about 10 years in the banking industry, where I worked for several banking institutions, where I worked in a role with equivalent to an agent and a team lead prior to going to the telco industry. I'm really excited to be a part of the TP family. It's been a warm welcome. What's making this more exciting is having the opportunity to work with all of you in Black at TP.
Awesome. Thanks, Connie. And I keep calling you Connie, but it should be Dr. Connie Bell.
Yeah, for her due.
Dr. Bell.
Yeah, I gotta give her due. She earned it. All right. Oh man, Srowy. Thanks, Connie. All right, Amanda, tell us more about your journey.
Yeah, I'm excited to speak to my journey here at TP. Interesting enough, I've been with TP now for 7 months. I work for Mamta Rodriguez, and we both worked at the same organization at Synchrony, and she was my mentor at Synchrony. And interesting enough, she had me come to TP and do a She Talks where I talked about mentorship and sponsorship and the importance of both acts within your own individual career. And throughout that process, I got a chance to meet really great individuals such as Sarah Miller. And when a role popped up, Mamta was like, "You gotta come over." And of course, you guys were so welcoming. I was just like, "Why not? Why not?" But if I tap a little bit about my journey, a little over 15 years experience in finance, operations, payments, and strategy. I've worked for multiple banks. I've also worked for Nestle Waters, which was consumer brands. But I'm excited to bring my experience and my skill sets within relationship management over to Teleperformance. And I'm also excited on all the great work that's to come with Black at TP. This is a special space for me right now, and I'm just excited to really work on something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda. So last but not least, my good friend Bryson. I know we've heard from you in the other podcasts about your career and your journey here, but I mean, we're sitting next to some really amazing executives for here at Teleperformance. What are your goals now that you see this? What are you thinking about as you see this our leadership here? What are your thoughts around that and where you want to go with Teleperformance?
Thanks, Mo. First and foremost, Dr. Bell, Rob, and Amanda, thank you guys so much for being the example that you all have been. It's because of the impacts that you have made individually that allow people such as myself, to excel and professionally. My number one goal here is to continue learning and continue growing. I started off my journey here with Teleperformance as a very green account manager. And over the course of the last 2 years, I've grown exponentially in my understanding of how to be a team player amongst an amazing team. And looking forward, then the sky's the limit. Teleperformance has a lot of great opportunities, and by being a part of Black at TP, not only being on the board contributing to the advancement of others, I can benefit from that as well.
Hey, so Bryson, thank you, man. I agree. The right examples help us really within our journey. And as I talk about that, we have some executives here. I would love to know, what are your expectations here at Teleperformance? What are your plans in the future? How can we help deliver, a better understanding of what our leadership looks like to our frontline agents? So I open the floor to this team to kind of just give us some insight around that.
Wow, I'll jump in there real quick. That question is right at the heart and soul of a lot of the reasons why I do what I do within the contact center space. Being that agent that we all were at one time, there was a point in time when I first started that when you looked at executive leadership and ownership in our space, there were no people of color. There were no women. And I got to feel some things firsthand as I matriculated my way up the ladder, so to speak, in an organization to ultimately becoming the COO of a BPO, handling major clients. But whenever I would go to call center shows or speak at conferences and all of those kinds of things, I was the only Black in the room. And I kind of, began to feel like, wow, how can this be? So as I thought about that and began to ask questions around that amongst leadership in the industry as a whole, not just in my company, but as a member of an association where I now sit on the board, I began to ask those questions. And one of the fundamental things that I began to see across as I would do site visits was all the people on the phones in the backgrounds in the back offices looked like me, but
Yep.
there were none in leadership. So there was this burden to say, how do we change this paradigm? How do we provide these people with what it is they need? And because you can't tell me that a person that's been on the phones for 10 years can't run a call center just as or better than someone who comes out of college with a degree with no experience. So how do we begin to make this our clients be able to see people in leadership that resemble what their customers look like. So for me, coupled with all of the George Floyd things we saw, really propelled me into a place that said, how do we make a difference? And when I heard about Black at TP, from this global organization that it is, the largest call center in the world, doing something like this, I said, that's where I want to be. And I think it makes a difference in that those of us now that have an opportunity to provide the educational experience to help those on the phones get to this level. Because there are some smart people in those call centers that could be doing exactly what I or any of us are doing right now. They just need the chance.
Right. So Mo, I think that what Rob said is spot on. We have to give the individuals on our front line the opportunity, right, to have these type of positions open to them. But at the same time, you have to tool them with
Yeah.
the skills and that are necessary to
Yeah.
to get to those particular roles. And I
Yeah.
think the way that you do that, one is we have to, this group of people here have to open ourselves up to really share that experience, because there are some experiences or some education that you will get out of books, but there is nothing like on-the-job training. And so
Right.
all of us have had that on-the-job training on how to get to these particular roles. And I think it is our responsibility to our community to share with them what that journey was like,
Yeah.
right? And then how not to make the same mistakes on their journey to these
Yeah.
particular roles.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what, Rob and Connie mentioned. I share in that same sentiment. But I really think about what Bryson mentioned about examples. And it's so important to think through representation and how visually seeing folks within these types of roles encourage others to make
Yeah.
the same moves, to work on oneself. It's almost, it's we lean on Rob and Connie, but it's almost like a responsibility for us all to make sure that we create a level of awareness in terms of careers and what are open opportunities or current opportunities that are out there, so folks can see themselves within those types of positions. And so, we think about our leadership team here. It's important for us to, create initiatives around professional development, create mentor sponsorship, connect with our frontline agents to make sure that we're helping them create, or excuse me, making sure that we're creating a talent pipeline here within TP. And so that's what I envision Black at TP doing in the future, that we literally are creating the folks that will eventually replace us. Honestly, that's how I see it.
But
Yeah.
Amanda, I think you said something really key, though. You said connect with them. And so I think Black at TP will allow us to have that connection with
Yeah.
those individuals, because if Black at TP did not exist, they don't know who I am. They don't know what I do. They won't be able to learn from me about my journey and how to be able to make it to this particular level. So I think that what Black at TP does for me, it helps me connect. It helps me to deliver on that responsibility that I have to those people who look like me. And so I am just looking forward to, I'm ecstatic about the opportunity to connect with all of those individuals on the front line.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll just piggyback and add one more caveat to all of that, and that is that you're talking about the connection. It is key, but the connection that Black at TP allows, and I saw the initial podcast where we said you don't have to be Black to be part of Black at TP. That's a powerful point because we as Black folks, we can't do it by ourselves. Now, we can do, we have to do what we're called to do, right? We have to come together. We have to talk about it. But when I look and I see somebody like Amanda, or I'm sorry, Jen, talking about how this all got started, and then I'm listening to Miranda talk about how she, her focus on these things. Those are the allies that we need. But then we need all of those allies as well as ourselves to move from being advocates to action for things to happen, right? So that's why TP is powerful in this perspective and in this paradigm at this particular time, because it's a team, and that's what we're building. And I'm like over the top about it. I'll tell you the truth.
I think this podcast is really essential and very important for our frontline agents to hear, and even our frontline support to hear. Because I know just in our call centers today, the messaging is not getting through, and they don't know who we are. They don't know about the growth that Teleperformance is taking, the leaps that they're making, and I think this podcast is going to shed some light for them and help provide that. Since we know that this is part of our journey, Rob, just tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are around the hiring aspects, and you look at the demographics from the call
Sure.
centers. I know you
Sure.
and I talked about it a little bit, but what are your thoughts around that? And
Well,
how can we help it?
yeah, we absolutely can help it, right? But what we need to do, one of the key things when you're involved in a DEI initiative, right? And I'm not just talking about Blacks, right? I'm talking about women, I'm talking about Asians, I'm talking about LGBTQ, I'm talking about disabled, I'm talking about all of that, right? Data is important. Data is going to tell us a lot. Now, we need to look at the data to see where our company has been, but it also will help us chart the path for where we need to get to. So straight to your point, we need to take a look at, we need to look at our hiring practices, right? Who are we hiring? Down to what are our job descriptions? See, because some people can look at a job description and not apply for the job based upon what we're saying the requirements are. And as I said early on, in the call center, sometimes we put all of these big degrees that people need to have in order to be a supervisor or a manager. Well, again, if I've been on the phone 10 years, you can't tell me I don't know the business, as opposed to somebody who just graduated with a bachelor's degree. So we need to look at the language in our job descriptions. And I'm not just talking about TP, right? I'm talking about globally. So we need to look at those job descriptions. We need to look at where we're searching for the talent, because so often what I used to hear years ago when I would raise the question was, well, none of them are applying. Well, but where are you looking? Right. Do we have relationships with HBCUs? There are some smart people graduating from universities, but if we don't have relationship, then we can't take advantage of a lot of that top-notch talent. So it comes down to, Mo, looking at it through every single functional area, from the recruitment to the hiring to the training to the onboarding, and then after they come on, what are we providing for these people? See, because and when you talk DE&I, the E is standing, that's equity. Not equity and equality are two different things. So equity considers where a person's starting point is. So, if I'm 6 foot tall and somebody else is 5 foot tall, that 5 foot tall person needs 2 crates to see over the fence, not one. That's right. So we need to consider where people's starting points are. And if we do that, we could make a big difference in a lot of the lives of people. And that's what it's about. Impact. Who's coming behind?
Well said. And I just gotta, that's incredible. Well said. You really did a fantastic job really outlining that for us. And as I think about it even more, you done a fantastic job really talking about what your role is on the board and how you're going to attack it. As our employee engagement chair for Black at TP,
Mhm.
this is going to get to our frontline agents. It's going to get to our frontline leadership. And
Yeah.
as I think about this even more, I want to open that to the entire floor. In your functional role as board members, what are you guys going to do to get more involvement in your positions?
So I think Rob made a good point, Mo. I think part of it is getting in front of the front line, front the agents, the supervisors out there, and everyone within the call center. So for me, professional development, I think to get people engaged, you have to engage in their development progress, right, or their development journey, right? So I think it's a matter of getting mentoring groups out there for them, getting them with the tools that they need to progress their careers here at TP. So I think what engagement will look like from professional development is bringing people in, having them to develop what their progress or their progressional journey will look like, and giving them the tools, right? So engaging with them, providing them the tools to get to from point A to point Z. And so I think that's where I see professional development.
So this includes like sponsorships, like leadership development inside the company. How do we have these amazing leaders and frontline support that we can help matriculate into the system, and even, maybe us sponsor some of those folks as they go through like programs like Leap, or I think it's called Jump now, those kind
Yeah.
of things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I think too, so I think that it's going to be critical to help people distinguish between mentorship and sponsorship, right? And so part of it is educating people on, what does that look like? So who do you engage, right? So who would be an engaged mentor or an engaged sponsor, right? Depending on where you are and where you're trying to go, right? So part of that is going to be, having resources for them. So who are those individuals? Because I can mentor you in data protection. I can mentor you in security, right? But you might want to go down a sales track. Maybe I'm not the right person. So it's being able to match those people with the right people that's able to help them during their career journey.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. In thinking about external partnerships, I think this is an area that I'm excited about because we can kind of like work on our branding in terms of external folks that we work with, like Teleperformance working with, maybe individuals from Afrotech, or thinking about sponsoring organizations such as Black Girls Who Code. Within the external partnerships function, this is something that we're going to really think about. What are the organizations that we can lean on to best brand Teleperformance and all the great things that we're doing internally, but doing that externally. So those are kind of like the areas that I'm focusing on. I'd also like to figure out the best way we can utilize some of these partnerships and learn. So maybe having some of our board members attend classes on D&I exercises and utilizing those experiences and learnings to bring back to the organization so that it ties back to professional development with all the great things that Connie's going to be doing as we kind of train our folks on things to consider in terms of improving our own individual selves, like mastering more managerial skill sets. So thinking about external partnerships and how we benefit it and we can also bring back those learnings internally is something that I'm also working through with external partnerships. But yeah, another aspect is just really, like I said, the Black Girls Who Code. I would love for us to maybe sponsor some girls to attend, Black Girls Who Code. This is an area where maybe we can fund dollars into an organization and really select something that we're most passionate about. But that's something, we'll kind of work through as a board. But those are kind of what I envision for my function.
Yeah, man, I think you made a good point. So when you talk about, those partnerships or creating those external, partnerships, I think even from professional development, part of our professional development is being tool educationally. So what is the education track for an individual who wants to go? Education is important, but also experience. So how do you kind of marry those two together, right, to get you from A to Z? So I think having those external partnerships, TP has a great tuition reimbursement program. So how do you utilize that program to get the additional skills that you need to go along with those skills that you're getting based on experience, right, to get to where you want to be? So I think partnerships are going to be key, even from the professional development function.
Agreed. Totally.
So I just wanted to jump on something as I'm listening to the ladies speak just now. And, one of the things that when we think about all that they said, is that some of this comes down to some very basic, rudimentary kind of things, right? And I'm going to give her the credit for it this time. Next time, I'm going to claim it for myself. But Connie sent me a clip of a lady, a dynamic lady, Cynthia Cynt, CYNT, whose last name also happens to be Marshall. But she, who is now one of the leaders with the Dallas Mavericks, and Mark Cuban kind of plucked her out to reshape his organization. And she said something that I picked up on that was key. And as we go through these initiatives, DEI initiatives, employee engagement initiatives, there's three key things that are key to this, right? And because as we're doing this, the heart has to be into it. And what she said was there's three things: listening,
Mm-hmm.
learning,
Mm-hmm.
and loving.
Yeah.
And it's those three L's that no matter what we do have to be at the forefront of our minds, of our hearts, and of everything that we do. Because when we begin to engage agents who may have been in our organization for quite some time, and we're talking about all of these various different opportunities that they could partake of, we have to find the avenues to provide them some exposure so that they can better understand, because some people might not know that they want to be a coder or they want to be a security and compliance person or whatever it may be. But so we have to
They don't
find
know. They don't know what's available to them. Really, they don't.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. How do we get them exposure? I think is going to be one of the key things. But we have to listen to them.
Rob, you make a really good point there. As the marketing and communications lead for Black at TP, I can everything that you guys are wanting envision for the ERG are things that I can be the moderator over communicating to the advocates by way of the newsletter. We're working on our LinkedIn page, and future steps include a website. So like making sure that those avenues stay up to date with information on what's out there. If we're holding a lunch and learn or some a session where people can get more information about what's out there within the under the TP brand, then that's one of the easiest ways for us to get that information, not only to the people at our, my level, your level, and the advocate level, but everyone. And we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Right on, Bryson. Could not agree more. Let me change up the topic a little bit now. Let's kind of peel back some more of these layers. And we know that being part of the Black at TP board, there's going to be some difficult conversations that are going to be had. We're going to have things are going to happen in the world that we may have to come on and talk about. And so I'm going to throw some of these things out here, and you don't have to tell me your viewpoints, but I mean, we can at least talk about, some of your thoughts around some future conversations for podcasts, right? So I'm thinking about the impact of George Floyd. That would be something that I know that would be a good conversation to have. One of the things, a buzz that's going around today is critical race theory. What is that? I'm not, me personally, not sure if I really understand what it all means, but I think it'd be a good conversation for us to have. I think those are the kind of communications and relationships that we want to develop, aside from just being a broad group that's working with our frontline leaders, but also forward thinkers of saying, hey, let's have this conversation. What are your guys' thoughts around that?
So one of the things that I appreciated about the organization that I came from is that we had what we call DINE, and it was started up by one of our VPs at the time. And what DINE means is Diversity, Inclusion, Networking Event. But it really means that you bring a group of people together and over a meal. We're pretty talkative during a meal. It's a little bit more relaxed, and you can have some of those tough conversations. I think we do have an opportunity either virtually or within locations to do events like that. I think that's where you have those conversations. You make them okay to have those conversations, but you have to have it just to keep tensions right. You have to have it in an environment, right, that kind of keeps it even keel. And I think that that would be a great initiative or some similar initiative to start up as a part of Black at TP, right? Is where we take the opportunity to dine with one another and use those events to talk about some of those tough conversations that things that are going on in the world, or some of those new acronyms that we're using. But I don't know what that is either, Mo. Good point. But I think that that could be something that we could explore.
Yeah, I love that idea, Connie. The way I envision Black at TP is this is a safe space for us to have those types of conversations, right? We don't know we don't know individuals that may be struggling with processing some of the things that are happening outside of, our world, outside of our home. And so having these types of tough conversations, or having a hub where I can release my thoughts or talk to someone else who's maybe experiencing these types of conversations, I think is key for us, and something I think is all top of mind with all the leaders here at Black at TP.
So, Amanda, you make a good point, but I think one of the things we have to make sure when we're having those conversations, it should not be restricted to people who look like us. I think that is a great conversation, or a platform to have a broader conversation with people from different ethnicities, so that they can understand how we feel about that. We can understand how they feel about that. And I think that's when you make inroads regarding those tough conversations.
And Connie, that's where the heart comes in, right? Because those that have a heart for others will be the ones that will be part of those discussions. And you're right, you have to become comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, because the fact of the matter is that each and every one of us has some type of unconscious biases, just because of how we were raised, where we were raised, what we heard. We all do. And I think when we acknowledge that, that is the beginning of the opportunity to have conversation, because now that allows us to get in the room with folks that don't look like us, and to have, see, because you can have these discussions in a very respectful way. And so that we have to allow the fact that there will be some people who are uncomfortable. There will be some people who may come into the conversation, may not say nothing until they get to a place where they'll begin to learn more about us. I mean, there are people, Black people, who haven't been raised around Caucasians or Asians, and so, but they've heard people say things about them. But once you get to know somebody, those stereotypes, those things that you've developed over the years, you begin to knock down. So number one, come into these things realizing that we all have them. Yeah. It's not an us versus them. This is a we thing. Right. And I think when we begin to do that intentionally, then we begin to make some serious progress. And again, not just in Black and TP, not just in TP, but we begin to have impact in our context in the world where it's really, really needed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's spot on, Rob. I've, man, listen to you guys talk, I continue to get inspired. This is why I love doing these things. Um, one of the pieces that came to me as you guys were talking through it is that dying is a great idea, and it helps kind of. I think it's going to really help pull back the layers and allow people that don't look like us to participate even more. And then I think about the future. So as we get more people who are participating that don't look like us, they're going to make the future even better, because those who come in behind us, they're going to see the leadership, to see these executives who are participating, seeing everyone being a part of these conversations, and they're going to feel even more willing to participate, because it's part of now the culture and the DNA. It's not the exception anymore. We're actually rewriting the new standard and the culture that we want to see.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know, there's a way. Um, Sometimes we can have colleagues that they don't know that something they say may offend someone. You know, I remember in coming through my career many times, and people, I guess I was the safe black guy for a while, right? So they would approach me and talk to me and say, why are all black women so angry? Why do they have to be so loud? In the business world. And I'm saying, no, that's not the case. What you don't understand is what they've been through to even get to where they are. And because a lot of that was the same for all women in general at a point in time. But so we just need to understand the place that the other is coming from. And by having groups such as this allows that. But again, Black at TP cannot be what it should be unless it includes more than the blacks at TP.
100%.
So,
no, well said. This is really great topics and good conversation. I'm going to just keep it rolling. Let's talk a little bit more around our frontline, our agents. Like, what should they expecting from us today? What do we want to see, in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, from our frontline leadership?
well, I'll jump in to kick it off. But I think that that's that vision is going to be it's going to be an iterative process, right? Because number one, we're really, as a collective, us are really just beginning to get started and to try to get our feet under us as far as the things that we want to do down the road. I think broad picture is that we have created an environment that allows agents to look at opportunities. I'll talk from a job promotional standpoint first. To look at a job that in a promotional advertisement, but that they feel comfortable that they are included, because the language in the job description does not automatically eliminate them. Now, granted, there are some jobs you got to have certain levels of education, right? But as I said a little while ago, we need to seriously look at the job descriptions. And I think, we get some small wins. And then I think we'll begin to see the inclusion of agents coming in and them giving their insight, because what we want to see is what they want. And we won't know that until we begin to speak to them, until we begin to listen to them, and until we begin to engage them.
So how do we give them that forum? How do we create that forum for them? What does that look like? Because I know, and I'm not saying it's all on you. I am saying, though, today, as we all know, it's really difficult for some of these agents to be able to reach us and communicate with us. So how do we get past that?
So I think part of that too, so because Rob is talking about, how to get them engaged, but also to look at where, as a leadership team, we might have made it a little bit more restrictive, right? And not intentionally, right? Just the way it is. But I think from a professional development standpoint, I think it's about having access to the
Yeah.
tools, right, that they need now. So that it's going to put the pressure on them to use those. But are they there? When you look at a job description, let's say it was written appropriately, a job description, right? Then I need to say, and the way I look at it is that you back into kind of like your career aspirations. So here's where I want to go. Then I go look at here's the job description for the job that I want. What do I have and what do I don't have?
That's right.
Then I'd say, okay, so do I have access to these other skills, right, to acquire that job? So I think from my standpoint and from my function, it's how do I get them access to
Yes.
those particular skills to be able to get to that career that they're aspiring to get to. So I think that's how you do it. But again, like you said, it's there for them. It has to be there and be available. It has to be communicated that it's available, right? And then you have to let people know once I've made it available. Now, if I can help you attain those skills. So whether it's tuition aid, whether it's time a rotation, maybe you do a 3-month rotation in a role that you wouldn't necessarily have access to. So we have to equip them or make those type of options available to them, and then but they have to seek to that. I can't but also too, what I say is that you have to do the job that you're doing very well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
expect this if you're not doing what you should do
That's right.
very well. So once you're doing that very well, then you have these other avenues that you can take to get to where you're going. So my job is to create the avenues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
That's equity that she's talking
That's
about.
it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love Mo's question because it is something I think about in terms of our frontline agents and collecting their voice, right? I think Rob had mentioned that, this is something that we need to work through if there are any firewalls within forms of communication. And I know, like Bryson, I don't want to speak for you, but I know with our marketing plans and social media activity, we're trying to create different outlets per Connie's point of view and how we can connect with some of the agents that we don't have access to through Teams or through email potentially. So maybe the avenue is LinkedIn, maybe the avenue is Instagram. Folks are on Instagram, like everybody's on Instagram. But this is something that if we are disconnected with our frontline agents, now it's our jobs as board members to influence the organization and be that voice for them to figure out what do we do to solve this problem. And that's what Black TP embodies, right? We want to be able to get that level of engagement, see what's missing, because there might be issues that I'm privy to see. I don't see everything that an agent is seeing. So I need to hear that agent's voice to figure out what is missing and what can we do to make TP a better place for this person to work at. So that's the kind of stuff that I think about in terms of collecting the voice of the frontline agent, along with, I love Connie's point about talent pipeline. I know there's some superstars in our agent communities that maybe we are missing and that we don't know. And this is very important for us to collect that, to identify these individuals, right? And figure out how to mentor and sponsor them and really, find these diamonds in the rough. I don't want to say rough. I don't like that term, but really finding the diamonds within our community. I know there's a lot of things that we're doing with the internship program that we may do something internally, right? Like this is where we have this power per se to really influence the organization to think things differently. And that's where I see the power of Black at TP.
Love it. Thanks, Amanda. Again, you guys continue to keep me inspired. I love this. I know we are coming up on time, but before we get rushed, I definitely just want to give everyone a chance to speak their heart or their mind and what they're thinking about. Again, Dr. Connie Bell, an SVP for Teleperformance. I have an amazing EVP here as well, Mr. Rob Marshall. We have our newest VP over Global Client Solutions, Miss Amanda. And then down here we got, Bryson, who is an up and coming leader here at Teleperformance. And I just want to give you guys a shot to say your final piece as we get towards the end of our podcast.
I think I'm going to go in Rob's lane a little bit and just ask the audience. This is a great opportunity to have an ERG that represents you. And my ask would be to, at all costs, try to be fully engaged, because without you, it doesn't work. We can provide all the tools, all the resources, time, mentoring, sponsorships, but without you, there's no Black at TP. So my last words is be engaged. Everything may not be geared towards you, but it may be geared towards someone that you know within the organization. And so tell a friend. Bring someone else along with you that can utilize the resources, or even just being able to sit down with someone like them, bring them along with you. But I would just say, be engaged. We want you to be happy here at TP. This is all about you. Just be engaged.
Amanda?
Yeah, I love what Connie said about being engaged. Please sign up and, tell a friend to join us in our mission to make TP a better place. There's some exciting things happening with Black at TP, and we just need your help. We need you guys to get involved, get engaged. Let's collect your voice, send feedback. It's okay. We'll take it all.
That's good. And I'll just say that, as when I look at something like this opportunity, I realize how great it is that we have this platform. You folks probably don't know, but as an ordained pastor, I spend much of my time speaking to people, trying to bring about social justice and all those things associated with being missional in my community, being missional in my life, doing things with a purpose. And we have an incredible platform working for an organization that is allowing this ERG to have impact on those that we work with now and those that may come behind us. I think I'm pretty safe in saying that none of us went to college and said that I'm going to graduate from college and then I'm going to go work for a call center all of my life, right? We didn't major in that. But the call center business is a tremendous opportunity to grow in many different aspects of your life. And I think if we take a look at this as what it is, and that is to have impact on lives and to change lives in a socially responsible way and to exhibit justice and mercy to people, this is something that TP can stand proud to say what they have done and what they are doing for a long time as we move into the future. So I am honored that you guys even asked me to be a part of this. And I'm excited about the things that we'll do moving forward.
Yes.
Thanks, Rob. Right on time. Bryson.
I just wanted to say that, for the viewers, thank you. Dr. Bell made an excellent point. This ERG would not exist and we would not have the ability to be successful without you. So thank you so much. Also, when I think of the what equation equates to success, I've heard it mentioned several times today. Being engaged, impact, and intention and intent. You put those together and you have a great formula for success. And so I just want to, in closing, the thing that I want to say is just remain engaged. Be intentional with the impact that you want to make, not only in your life, but those around you.
Yeah, well said. And for me, I mean, it's all the things that you guys said. I can't say it any better. I just want the listeners to know, and also our frontline support to know, it's not perfect, right? Black Hat TP isn't perfect. We don't have all the wheels built, the house, the foundation. That's what we're doing this for. This is why we're having these podcasts, these educational sessions to get more people in. We did start last year. We had some really good things happen last year, but it's not enough. And so we know that we're still trying to get more people engaged. We want more people involved, and that's why we're doing these things. So if we're not able to reach everybody, and you're not getting all the emails, you're not getting all the contacts, please know it's not intentional. We have all of our information's available. You can email us, and we will find ways to keep people involved and engaged, like Dr. Bell and Bryson said so clearly. That's our responsibility, and we'll take that on. But overall, this is with your membership and your support, this is how we get better. This is how we're going to have a lot more fun, how we're going to be able to do some more things, because we do need all the support we can get. We can't do it on our own. It's going to take the community to help us do it. And then, and the last thing I would just say for our allies out there, if you're having second thoughts about whether or not you should be part of Black Hat TP, you're being called to join. You are being called to be engaged and to learn about what's going on out here, and just to be a part. This is a safe place. It takes zero effort to be kind. It takes zero effort to be a human. It takes zero effort to find new friends. And that's what you're going to get here. So if you are on the fence, you should definitely sign up, because you are going to enjoy the people that you meet and really get to learn stuff that you probably didn't know before, and vice versa, because I don't know it all either. So it's a two-way street. I want to hear from the other side as well. And that's all I have. And I would just want to thank my guests, the board members, again, for your guys' time. I know we all have busy lives. You guys are meeting after meeting after meeting. Welcome to COVID. I also just want to take this time to thank Audrey and Logan for their support and help in all the podcasts and newsletters and all behind the scenes work. You guys have just been exceptional. I'm sure you don't get enough credit for all the work that you're doing, but just thank you so much. This would not be possible without your guys' support. I also want to thank Jen Anderson, our executive sponsor. She has been fantastic. She really helped birth all of this out, and we get to run with it and lead it, and it's been a great experience. And then lastly, I just want to thank Miranda and all the C-suite and the executive leadership, Scott Barley, just incredible leaders who are intentionally thinking and moving forward with Black Hat TP. We couldn't do it without you guys. I just want to say thank you. And with that said, I'll turn it back to you, Audrey, and let's close it out.
Absolutely. So, before I close it out, obviously, I want to thank you guys for coming on. This has been like the coolest thing that we have done in a long time. So I've enjoyed it. Me and Mo talk like all day now, just back and forth about everything that involves this and how excited we are. But when it comes to, myself, Logan, obviously she's on maternity leave. She can't be here with us. We miss her. But when you say behind the scenes, that's not really how I think of it. Like, to me, we've mentioned being an ally, and that's what this is. It's, that's what I would say to the people who are listening. Don't wait on somebody to call on you. Don't wait for them to ask other people to join. Don't wait for somebody to come and talk to you about it. I stick my nose in where it does not belong all the time. I am in every PRG out there that I'm like, hey, what are you all doing? What's going on with this one? And I think that's how it has to be. That engagement still has to be there. You have to want to be an active participant. We get off these calls and it's not just we talk about how awesome this was or how fun it was. When I go to my next call, I'm like, you all will not believe the conversation I just had. Like, it was amazing. And, we've had that. So many things that you all have hit on, I think, is what those who need to come and be allies are going to appreciate, because, you talked about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. We've had that conversation before. Mm-hmm. There's been things, Rob hit dead on, like where you're from, unconscious bias. Mo, me and you have had that exact conversation.
Yes.
From growing up in a small town and being uncomfortable to talk about these things, but knowing that urge was there, that I needed to be a part of conversations like that.
Mm-hmm.
And think that's what it's about, is just you have to be intentional in going out and finding this information and supporting this team and all of our ERGs. And that to me is what being an ally is.
Yeah.
Not,
You
not
sum
being,
it up.
being in the
That's what
background.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yep.
Well
So-
said, Audrey.
But I want to thank all of you all for coming on and spending some time with me. And, you know, for doing this for everybody, for our frontline, our agents, our leadership. It's a learning experience for everybody. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what level you're in. This is knowledge that people need. So
Hey.
I appreciate you all doing these 4 podcast series with us. For anybody, you know, that is listening, we have trained you all pretty good to head over to YouTube and podcast, or watch the podcast on YouTube. Spotify, go like and follow the Teleperformance podcast channel. All of the past ones that have been done are on there. This one will be on there. You've got your information out there everywhere. And, you know, we talk about, how do you get a hold of us? How do you do this? You can leave comments on YouTube. Come and find us, and it will get back to the board. I promise you. So there's channels out there. I know that we're working on getting more information, but there's ways to get a hold of you, or for you all to get a hold of us, to get a hold of the board, and, you know, think outside the box, and we will make sure it gets where it needs to go. So for everybody listening, thank you all for coming, and I'm sure that we will be back in the coming months with something else.